It's a little bit chilly in here. So the title of tonight's message is going to be called The Power of the Tongue. And it might be bouncing all over the place at times. I feel like I was reading it and going over it, and I just couldn't seem if I were getting all my thoughts together in a proper line or not. And I'm going to do my best to kind of keep this in a orderly fashion for you. Well, I want to open up with Proverbs chapter 18, verses 20 through 21. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips he be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. You know, kind of like somebody's favorite thing they like to hear is their name, but people, unfortunately, love to hear themselves talk. A lot of people like the sound of their own voice. And when you are talking, you're constantly writing your own story. People are constantly starting to get an idea of who you are by what is coming out of your mouth. Your mouth is telling the world who you are. And once you open it, that's it. You can't get those words back once you've spoken them. You know, I look at the verse, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. That's in verse 21. You know, can you imagine? Well, I do imagine it because seems to be the way most people speak, in a negative manner. Always listening to somebody saying a phrase like, my feet are killing me. Like, why are you talking like that? This is going to be the death of me. What? Please don't be anywhere near me if this is about to be the death of you. I don't want to be near you. If we're in the same car and this drive is going to be the death of you, please, I'm going to Uber the rest of the way where I need to be going. I don't need to be in the same car as you. But we're constantly speaking in a negative fashion towards ourselves, and it becomes the norm. Why are we so negative to ourselves and amongst everybody else with the words that are coming out of our mouths? Why is it abnormal to hear words like, I am blessed, I am highly favored of the Lord, I am going to succeed? You know, I went to a call the other night, and it was a couple that got into a little domestic, and he was explaining about how things were going sideways and everything was negative, and how his wife had just failed out of the nursing school they spent $6,000 for, and there was several little, I guess, body part charts up on the wall, and I was listening to him talk, but I was reading all the sticky notes. It said, you're going to kick this test's tail. You're going to succeed. You are going to be the best at this test. You are going to be number one in your class. You are going to do extremely well, like just setting herself up for success. You know, why is it hard for us to speak that over our own lives? We find ourselves in the constantly disappointment of our own words and speaking negativity towards ourselves and to those that are next to us. You know, there's in my opinion, there's three big decisions that you make in life, and I know two of them that are very common, one of which is when you purchase your first home, right? That's one of the biggest decisions you're going to make in your life is, man, I'm moving out of mom and dad's house, and I am going to purchase my own home. One of the next big decisions you make is who you marry, who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Destiny, you're getting ready to marry somebody. You're getting ready to spend the rest of your life, and you're getting ready to make a decision. And what I want you to understand with this next phrase and this next portion of it is that in that decision, there's a set of 7 traditional promises that come with those vows. And you are speaking that from your own mouth. To have and to hold for this day forward. I am saying you are who I'm going to have and hold from now until the end. That's coming out of my mouth. There's nobody else in between. For better or for worse. I don't care whether we are in the slumps of the slumps right now, we've both been laid off, or we are both in our highest highs and we're both getting promotions and we're going to love each other for better or for worse. For rich or for poor, you are just making pennies on the dollar, or you are making everything you have everything you need. I'm still going to love you until the end. In sickness and in health. Forsaking all others, to love and to cherish, until the last little phrase, until death do us part. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. You are constantly speaking over your life with the words that come out of your mouth. And how well you're going to go and how far you're going to go and how much you're going to succeed, it's what's coming out of your mouth. What do you believe in yourself? What are you speaking over your own life? I can't make you succeed. Your family can't make you succeed. You have to dig deep and speak over your own life. I remember, and I say this portion because I'm going to tie it back in a little bit later. I remember when we would pray and Dad would speak the words, I am the best and the fastest at what I'm going to do. I'm going to make more money than anybody else doing the exact same thing. Not saying it in a prideful way, but speaking the words of affirmation, the positivity of when I leave this customer's house, they are going to like what they see. This is going to be the best job they have ever seen. And by word of mouth, it's going to spread. And somebody else is going to say the exact same thing. And people are going to want to pay more than what they're getting because you're doing above and beyond and better than what everybody else is doing because you're speaking positivity over your life. Or you can have the negative, no, I can't do that good. Well, I'm not going to be able to do that. Too many times we find ourselves speaking negative of our own selves and wonder why we can't succeed and be where the next person is because we can't speak over our own lives positively. Why is it that we are so negative on our own selves? And that's because your mouth and your tongue do that to you. That is the life and the death of what you speak and what comes out of your mouth. To open your mouth when you decide, this was the number 3 thing before I say it. This was the third thing in my opinion as far as speaking or positive things that come out of your mouth, the decision that you make, is when you open your mouth to make a decision for your eternity. I can't make you make that decision. You made your decision about the house you wanted to buy, big decision. You made your decision about who you want to spend the rest of your life with, big decision. Now where are you going to make your decision on where you're going to spend your bed in eternity? That's coming out of your mouth. You're speaking that proclamation. God, I give you my everything. I am turning from this way and I am going forward now. I'm turning from the sinful worldly ways, whether what this has to offer looks a lot more pleasant and beautiful right now, I'm going to turn from it and I'm going to go this direction. And I don't know how many of you have been there, but sometimes the forward direction seems like it's kind of hard sometimes. It seems like you're constantly stumbling and following, and things are getting in your way, and it doesn't look as beautiful and appeasing as what the world has to offer, but it's up to you to make that decision with your mouth and you move forward. So, I say the mouth, I'm going to go in a couple different things. Obviously, right now I'm talking about the life and the death portion of the tongue and how powerful that tongue is and how much trouble it can get you in as well. I remember I was in my senior year of high school, and we had my class, we were very close-knit. We've been together since first grade when I started at Ridgeview all the way to senior year. We won our middle school, we won our JV, and we were expected to win all our sports in our varsity year as well. Senior year of soccer. We were against one of our rival Christian schools who typically beat us, actually. They were just a little bit further north of us, Shenandoah Valley Christian School. Very good school. They would recruit different players, and I remember one of the players on our team, leading scorer on our team, very good player. Very quick. And I know most of you, if you've been in sports, you've found yourself bumping and grinding with somebody on the field, getting frustrated, pushing back. You're hollering and saying things to each other, and you realize before you know it, you might have done something you shouldn't have done. And during that game, I remember it like it was yesterday, we were in a heated match with him, and I could hear this guy on our team just getting into it with this other player. And at that point, you're kind of chiming in and egging it on a little bit because the little rivalry going on and you want to win, and all of a sudden during one of the plays down the field he makes a comment that's overheard by staff members. And this comment, there were a set of words that were exchanged back and forth, and words that came out of his mouth caused him to get kicked off the team. It was our senior year. We were expected to win everything, but because of one incident of being able to contain the unbridled tongue, very small portion of your body, that one of the smallest things on your body, your tongue, and we couldn't control it. And I'm not saying either party was right in what was going on, but this one incident, affected the soccer team for the rest of the year, and he was removed from the team. And we ended up not getting first place like we were anticipating, but it was one incident, and he was removed from the team because somebody heard it and it got passed around, and discipline action had to take place. You are held accountable for the words that come out of your mouth. There is a lot of power in this tongue right here. Whether you want to take ownership for it, and a lot of people like to point the other finger. Well, I only did it because of this. I only said it because they said something first. And it's very easy to point the finger and blame somebody for your actions and the words that are coming out of your mouth. According to that proverb, you should take watch over his or her words carefully, and you should be slow to speak. You need to understand the power of your words. It says there is life and death in the words, and if you love to talk, you will eat the fruit of your words. And perhaps you've all heard the phrase, oh, he's going to eat those words, or he just put his foot in his mouth, or he just stuck his hand in his mouth. And I know you've all been, whether you were the one that said something you shouldn't have said, or you heard a conversation that took place, and you almost kind of just like shrivel up in a corner because you're like, probably shouldn't have said that. That's going to come back to bite you. It doesn't take much for something to be said that puts a new picture or a new perspective of you because of what you just said. And everybody's listening. From the child up. I can't tell you how much the kids are listening, adults, parents. Those children are listening to every word that is coming out of your mouth. And you wonder, well, where did you hear that from? You didn't hear that from me. But whether you think they did or didn't, they might have heard it through a closed door or down the hallway or whatever the case may be. Your voice travels and they hear it and they're going to pick up on what you say, and it's going to be your fault for what has fallen downhill because you are the overseer of that child. When we arrest somebody, and just before we take them to jail and we read them their papers, there's a little phrase in there. It says, you have the right to remain silent. Why do you think it says that? You are the person that is going to either make or break what's about to happen to you by what's coming out of your mouth. We take them to jail, and the more they talk, the more we write. If it didn't get written down on my paper, it didn't happen. So between my body camera and listening to what they have to say, it all goes in my report. So the more you want to just keep on chatting. So the more you talk, the more it paints a picture of who you are and what just took place with whatever you're dealing with. As a muscle, this tongue, it is 100% muscle, right? It's a very strong part of your body. But it does not have the force of your leg kicking something, of your jaw biting down, of your fist punching somebody. But your tongue is measured by the damage of what it can do to somebody, whether mentally, physically. That tongue is measured by the damage and the power and the death and the life that it can bring towards somebody and the actions that are being spoken. So you need to be careful. Other ways that the unbridled tongue can get you in trouble are through your lies. How many people have met a compulsive liar? Oh, man, I can't stand talking to somebody where I'm just sitting there talking to them, and it's like, man, I don't know if you've said one thing true to me yet. And you can tell when somebody's lying to you, but a compulsive liar, that it makes me want to have no part or engage in zero conversation with you. The gossip, you over here just whispering, backbiters, sitting here saying, well, he did this, she did that. All of it's coming from your mouth, and the damage that you may not think it's causing, but yet your little gossip tree, where you say something, and by the time it gets to the next person and it kind of builds up, and the little climax, by the time it gets to the final person and get back to you, and it's like, well, that 99% of that didn't happen. But by the time you got this little gossip tree, because everybody wants to be a part of it, You know, I got, if I want something to get around at work, and I need something to get, there is one or two people I know who I can go talk to. I just go say one thing to them. Hey, have you heard about this? Can you know any more about this? In 2 days, the whole department's going to know if I want something to go around. All I got to do is go talk to one or two people. And you probably know one or two people like that in your life that if you were to tell something to them, oh man, the whole world's going to know, or the whole department or police force or whatever where you might work or where you go to church, everybody's going to know. And there's one or two people that if I want it to go around, that's who I'm going to talk to in order to get some information that I need to get out. Because me personally, I'm too lazy to go tell everybody, so I'll tell this person. So if I want something to get around, that's who I'll talk to. So, you know, I don't know if you've heard of the biggest lie this nursery rhyme. This nursery rhyme really gets me. And it was founded in started in the 1800s. And this nursery rhyme was used for bullying. It was to kind of help with all the name calling and all the different things to try to bring it into perspective, like, hey, you can't hurt me by calling me a name. How many people have heard the phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? No, sometimes I'd rather you just hit me in the face with a stick than you cut me in half with some of the words you're getting ready to say. I don't know if you've ever had somebody talk about you in a negative way, or somebody break the trust of what you just trusted them with, and you're like, I can't let it get over here. But I just need to vent to somebody just a minute so I'm not carrying all this burden myself. And you tell them, and 5 minutes it's down the road and you're getting a phone call from somebody else. Did this happen? Well, it doesn't take much. I'm going to tell you right now, words hurt. They are painful and they are sharp and they will cut you deep. And it doesn't take much to tear you apart from some words that you were just chitter-chattering back and forth before somebody's torn apart from either your gossip or misconversation or spreading some lies that shouldn't have been spread. So that nursery rhyme, and you know, I've said it to my kids, you know, sticks and stones, and if they say shut up, well, they get in trouble for saying they're not allowed to say shut up. I mean, we weren't allowed to say shut up. I mean, it's just a nasty word. I remember growing up, let me see, I think that's further in my notes before I get ahead of myself. No, so I'll go ahead. So I remember, you know, certain things that we weren't allowed to say. We'd play a video game or something, and we weren't allowed to say killed. You're dead. You're going to die. Dad, man, you weren't allowed to say those words. Dad come in there and make you turn the game off if he heard you saying those words. You weren't going to talk like that. It just, by the way of your mouth and what you are saying, you are building something up on the inside of you, and you're starting to talk like this game figure here or whatever, and you can't keep your body and mind composed to who you are and who you should be, and now you're starting to talk in such a negative way. The only thing we were allowed to say was, you lost your man. That was as close as we could get to saying dead or die, and we weren't allowed to talk like that. And so that was ways of him saying, hey, this is where our rules are. And we are not going to talk like this. You're not going to say I killed you or I said anything negative in any sort of negative way, whether it was to a person or just to a video game online talking to somebody through a headset. And I don't know how many of you guys got kids and you play games or whatever, that stuff is just constantly chattered back and forth in such a negative way. And I believe it has a negative impact on our children today, on the constant negativity that comes through that earpiece. And so constantly hearing it and saying it and putting it out there for them to be a part of, and then it gets implemented into their lives. And I honestly believe video games and what they see, that's probably why some of our crime rate is the way it is, because they feel like they can just follow suit and go right out there and do the exact same thing. And it becomes a second nature of who they are and a part of them, and it is ingrained in them, and there's nobody saying, you can't talk like that. Stop doing that. This is not who you are. This is where the line is getting drawn, and this is where you're going to stop. And all of that comes with somebody saying, you can't talk like that. Another way that I feel that is commonly used, and it's something I find myself in the middle of sometimes, is sarcasm. Sarcasm drives me insane sometimes, and I even find myself doing it. Sarcasm hurts. And you know what? Usually it's a battle of the wits is what it is sometimes. And somebody wants to outdo the next person by something they say. And it's usually followed up by something along the lines of, I was joking. I'm just kidding. I didn't mean it. How often do you feel like they didn't mean it after they just cut you? If you didn't mean it, why did you just say it? Why are you condemning me in such a way or trying to belittle me in such a fashion, but you don't mean it? What does that mean? I'm just kidding. And you're going to cut me down in such a way. I don't believe anything you just said now. So, sarcasm hurts. I have this individual, I'm going to refrain from using his name. There's an individual at work. He is, wow. You don't say nothing negative to him. I'm pretty sure he goes home and has a list of something he has written down of everybody. So if you go to say something negative about him, he's going to say 10 times worse about you and cut you down 10 times faster, and he is very quick and very witty, and the whole group's going to laugh. And that is not somebody you want to be around or be cutting down, because he is very quick, very witty, and he will cut you down so fast and make you look about this big to where you don't want to be anywhere near him. And I'm pretty sure he just goes home and probably studies those little phrases because he doesn't miss a beat. And so those kind of things are things that really hurt, and it's coming from your mouth as an individual. And believe it or not, what you might find as just kidding or just joking or wasn't really sarcasm, somebody else might really take a lot of offense to it. It doesn't take much for your words to hurt somebody else and what you think actually matters or not. The second portion of the tongue that I kind of want to focus on is the edifying side of it. And this is a very rudimentary verse, and I know everybody is familiar with it. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Mom. I can't do that. Yes, you can. Go outside and do it again. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You can do all things. Every time you said you can't, Mom would say, yes, you can. And she'd point, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Mom wasn't going to let you fail by your own words. Mom wasn't going to let you belittle yourself by saying, I can't. Stop saying you can't. You can do it. The Bible says you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. She said it nonstop every time you said the word, I can't. She would not let you forget that you can. And I remember specifically, just kind of an example. I don't know why this one example kind of sticks with me. I was knee-high to a grasshopper, little dude, didn't have any muscles. And in Louisiana, and Mom and Miss Diane are in the kind of like the little gymnasium little thing where we had a little basketball court and RWOL, and I could not shoot the basketball high enough. Couldn't get it up there. No muscles, couldn't get it up high enough to get in the basketball, and it would just frustrate me to no end. And I'd go over there, I can't do it. Mom would say, yes, you can. You can do all things through Christ that strengthens you. And Miss Diane would come in and chime in on her verses and how you could. And she'd go, oh, honey, yes, you can. And she grabbed the little basketball and said, you ever done the granny shot? You just got to grab it just like this, and you got to fling it right on up there. And so I grabbed the basketball again and started doing the little granny shot. And eventually, after multiple tries and attempts, it was getting high enough to where I could. So the words of affirmation and the positive words, when you think you can't do it, you have somebody that's above you, parents, and talking down to your children, because right now they're such small individuals, they don't understand what they're capable of doing. You as a parent, you as a leader, you as somebody in the church over these young ones, you constantly have to speak the positiveness over our young ones who are growing. You can do it. You are the person that is motivating them, because now more than ever, they need somebody speaking positive into their life on that they can do it. They can succeed. They will win. Whether it's just a sticky note on some cards, or whether it's confirmation coming from mom and dad or aunt or uncle or another leader in the church speaking that positivity on your children. Another example that I have towards that is, dad's side of positivity. I remember trying out for the soccer team in 7th grade for Ridgeview. And I'd go around and juggle the soccer ball all day long, and I'd get so frustrated because I can't get past 15, 16, whatever the case may be, and I get mad, I can't do it. And Dad's way, Dad would go, oh, yeah, I know you can do it. You can get way more than 16. He wasn't going to let you say you can. He said, go back down and let me show you how to do it. He'd say you got to kick the ball left foot, then right foot, because I would only use my right foot. He's like, you can't do that. You got to use both feet. And then on top of that, if you use this bigger part of your leg, then you have a little bit more meat right there, and you're going to be able to get the juggles and the count that you're trying to get. And he said, once you get past that, let me tell you something. Once you hit 100, then you can't drop the ball. It's almost possible to drop the ball. He's like, your body just gets real. Okay, Dad. Whatever that means. And so I go out there, and I'm trying. I'm like, left foot, right foot, and I'm not even 16 anymore. I'm down to like 6 or 7. And I remember standing in the yard. I was yelling at my left foot because my left foot was causing me to do worse. I'm like, why can't I just have 2 right feet? Because my left foot is not working right. And so what do you want to just walk in a circle because you got 2 right feet? But I was so mad because my left foot was not able to do the same thing as my right foot. And it was causing me to fail. But eventually, it was working. You get 20, then you get 40, then you get 50. And Dustin and I would begin to have competitions with each other and see who could get the most. And eventually, you got to that 100 point, and lo and behold, Dad was right. You got to 100, and it was like, man, I don't even know what I'm doing. My body's just in a rhythm. And the only way you drop the ball after 100 is when you get exhausted or you fall in a hole. You like step in a hole or something. But once you pass 100, your body just gets in a rhythm. But you have your parents that are constantly saying, you can't, I know you can do it. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You can succeed. Stop telling yourself you can't. Why are we so negative on ourselves? Psalms 45, verse 1. It says, my heart is inditing a good matter. I speak of the things which I have made touching the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer. What do you think that means? Are you constantly telling your story by what you're saying? You're constantly telling the next person who you are? Are you somebody that I can come to for words of affirmation? That's somebody that's going to uplift me, somebody that's going to help guide me in the right direction, somebody that I can talk to when things are going at their worst possible. I know that you are going to be uplifting and encouraging through our conversation, and you're not going to tell me, well, shouldn't have done that. I'm going to smack you over the head. Well, you need to go over there to the altar. Well, obviously you've got somebody that is going to tell you the difference between right and wrong, but at the same time, they're going to be the one encouraging you and moving you forward, because there ain't a single one of us in here that's not going to make a mistake. And there's not a single one of us in here that's perfect, because we're all going to make mistakes. Even once we walk out these double doors, you're going to make a mistake. It's still going to happen, but having that person next to you that's going to help point you in the right direction, because you are constantly telling and writing your own story by the words that are coming out of your mouth. Proverbs 6:2 says, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth, thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. Thou art snared means you are trapped by what you are saying. And so many times when we find ourselves, I know a lot of this sounds like it's just repeating itself, but there's a little bit of stuff I'm trying to get to with it. You're constantly trapping yourself by the words that you say. And when you put yourself in a situation because of what you said or what you did, you have to find a way to speak positive to get out of it, because sometimes you put yourself in your own storm. The storm you're in now is because something you did to get there. God is not going to let you be in a storm that you can't handle. But sometimes when you dig yourself a grave and you say the things, or you put your foot in your mouth, or you say something you know you shouldn't have said, the phrase misery loves company, you start dragging people down with you. Well, I know they're in the same boat because they said or did this. I know they've been there or done this, and so you're starting to try to make other people look bad the same way because of the image that you currently have, because of something that you probably said that put you there. And so you're starting to bring others down because of where you're currently at. But you want to know what? You can't lose sleep over what you can't control. I can't lose sleep over somebody bad-mouthing me because of the storm I might be in. I can't try to bring people down into my storm because of what I did to get myself there, but I can try to find a way to be encouraging, to still say, hey, where I'm at now, I know it's only up from here. Some people like to look at it, I guess there's no place. Can't get any worse than this. That's about as bad as it gets. No, let's keep moving forward, even if we put ourselves in that negative thing by what we said or what we did. I want to read a little short passage here, James 3, 1 through 12. And it's kind of wraps up most of what we just talked about. It says, "My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. For of many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. Behold, we put bits in the horse's mouth," that small thing in the horse's mouth, something in the horse's mouth that moves him. It's not a very big thing, but it is what's in the mouth that is controlling that horse. "Behold, we put bits in the horse's mouth, but they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body." Keep going just a little bit further there. "Behold also the ships, which though they be so great and are driven by fierce winds, yet they are turned about by the very small helm, whithersoever the governeth listeth." The helm, the rudder, the helm, the small thing on the bottom. Do you know how small that is compared to the size of the ship that is being moved? It's like this tongue that is in your mouth. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. It doesn't take much for that thing to go just a couple degrees off to the left, a couple degrees off to the right, and it's steered by something so small on the bottom of that ship. "Even so, the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great is the matter a little fire kindleth, and the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on the fire of hell. For every kind of beasts and birds and the serpents and the things in the sea is tamed, and hath tamed of mankind, but the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, for a deadly poison. Therewith bless we God, even the Father. Therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceeded blessings and cursings. My brethren, these things ought not to be. Doth a fountain send forth the same place sweet water and bitter? Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, either of vine figs? So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh. You know, just like the bridle in the horse's mouth, or the bit in the horse's mouth, something so small steers such a large animal. The rudder and the helm on the bottom of a boat, that just a couple degrees to the left or to the right is going to change the course of the entire ship. It's going to change the entire course of the direction it's headed. And the tongue that is in your mouth is directing the course of your path. It is writing your story. By what words you want to say, by what words you want to mumble, by whatever you want to speak, you are choosing the direction of your life with this tongue and the things that you are speaking over your life. There are a few things in life that can't be recovered. A word after it's said, an opportunity after it's missed, time after it's gone, and trust after it's lost. Those are some big things that can't be recovered, but you know, a word after it's said. How many of you have said something that I wish I wouldn't have said that? It doesn't, and sometimes, I don't know if you've sent a text message to somebody and you say something, in your mind, it means something else. But because it was sent through text message, they read it completely different. You didn't have no exclamation, you didn't have no bold, you didn't have no question mark, you didn't have no period. It was just a small phrase, and the way it was sent through a text message, they read it completely different. That's like the way of the tone of my voice. I can say something 3 different ways, and you can read it all 3 different ways by the way I've said. I only said one thing, but you can read it by the tone of my voice and take it however you want to by how I'm speaking it. Actions speak louder than words. Actions can make an impact, but words will never be forgotten. Words can then speak louder than actions by the way the impact that they leave on somebody. Proverbs 17:28 says, And I think this is a pretty powerful verse because whether you're a Christian, whether you're a newborn person into it, whether you were somebody just out there in the world and could not care less about Christianity, it says, even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips, esteemed a man of understanding. It doesn't take much to understand when I shouldn't speak. But sometimes, like earlier, people love to hear their own voice. They love to talk. So they get a little bit ahead of themselves, and they start rattling off with the mouth, and they say something they regret, or they say something they shouldn't have said, and it comes back to bite them. In James 1:19 it says, "But everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger." It's a lot easier said than done sometimes to sit there and listen to somebody when you know what they're saying is incorrect, or what they're saying could be tearing the family apart in some way, shape, or form, or it can be destroying some other relationship between two individuals. Sometimes it's hard to sit there and just listen and not speak your mind, because if you start speaking before you actually think, and you start speaking before the conversation's complete, and you don't have the complete facts or both sides to a story, sometimes we get ahead of ourselves and we say something we shouldn't have said. And once you've said those things, once you've made that comment, you can't get it back. Whether it was a lie, whether it was gossip, whether it was unintended or I didn't mean it that way, you better be careful how you say it. You better be careful what you say, and the fluctuation of your voice is going to determine how they take it as well. Once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. So be careful when you open your mouth, because everybody's listening. And it's just a few minutes early, but Pastor, I'll pass this over to you. Put up Luke 6:45.
Luke 6:45. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is evil. For of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaketh. We've all been found guilty of knowing that verse and still wanting to hide behind, well, I didn't really mean it. Even if you really didn't mean it, that still says something was in there that shouldn't have been in there. So, did part of you mean it? I guess at some point we've all found or met or know that person that you just know you really can't trust what they're saying. It sounds right, it sounds good, but 1,000 times you've been done incorrectly and wrongly or proven to be not true. It's just, you learn just to listen and go on. Nobody wants to be that person. Just be a person of integrity. Let your words be few, but let them be what you meant to say. Encourage people. Let's all stand to our feet tonight. I was leaving a job site, and this was yesterday. I was leaving a job site, and this guy was so frustrated. He was frustrated. He was so frustrated. He was pacing back and forth. I guess they just expect me to do too much. They expect me that I'm going to have to get all this done today. I'm never going to get all that done today. And you know what? It's not even worth me bringing it up. I'm just going to go home. And I was like, hey, listen. It's okay. Did you do the best you could do? It's going to be okay then. We run into problems. Our expectation might be a little bit high, but tomorrow you might get double done what you were expected today. And just hearing that, Just hearing, it's okay. I watched calmness come over. I was like, those words really work. Calm them down just by saying something like that. It's going to be all right. Father, we love you. Thank you for your word tonight. Thank you for speaking to us. Thank you for showing up and touching our lives. Even as we worship you, Lord, let our lives show forth the praises of who you are in our lives. In Jesus' name, hallelujah. Just a quick announcement, because the Wednesday after Easter, I would have forgot, the Wednesday after Easter, that is the 9th, we're going to have our, 9th is Easter, 12th is the Wednesday after. We're going to have our, let's just say what are they going to call it? Just a communion? The Passover Seder in the fellowship hall. And so we're going to start taking sign-ups, and or Sister Laurel's going to have a little a way of helping to bring certain kinds of foods. Is that correct? And it's going to start getting posted. So we would love for everybody to join us, but we'd also like to be pretty precise on how many. So we'll make sure we're going to have a meal together, a fellowship together, and learn what the Passover was all about the day they took it. Father, thank you for showing up and giving us a full house on this Passover. In Jesus' name, amen.